Cadillac Lyriq, Blazer EV, Equinox EV, Honda Prologue, Acura ZDX, Cadillac Celestiq. These are just some of the cars on General Motors' new BEV3 architecture. And we're here with this 2025 Chevrolet Blazer EV in the RS all-wheel drive option here to drive over the course of this weekend. My mind has been blown. This car has been impressing me and surprising me in a lot of different ways over the course of this week. And after coming out of the Cadillac Lyriq, the last General Motors EV that I was in, I really like this. You're getting a baby Lyriq essentially. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit not as advanced and super as luxury, but you're basically getting all of that really core, awesome new Ultium technology here in this all-new Chevrolet Blazer EV, and it just looks awesome as well. So honestly, I've been really impressed with this over the course of this week. It's coming in at just around $59,000 as configured. It has SuperCruise. It has all these amazing, incredible features inside, except Apple CarPlay, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But I'm going to give you guys a full tour and review of this 2025 Chevrolet Blazer EV, how I've been liking it and maybe not so liking it as much over the course of this week, some of the ups and downs, and all the fun, really cool general information of this all-new EV SUV. So let's go dive in and let's see if this 2025 Chevrolet Blazer EV should be on your short list if you're looking for a new mid-size SUV that is electric. Right off the bat, we all know the Blazer EV didn't have the most adventurous or amazing start back a year and a half ago. And that's normal. A lot of these new electric vehicles, they're huge technological components. This 2025 example, completely flawless. General Motors has fixed every single issue that people had with this vehicle, and it works completely fine. So what is powering the Blazer EV? Well, the lineup is a little bit interesting. The Blazer EV on the BEV3 architecture, this is a platform that in itself is very modular. And what that means is that General Motors can make it whatever it wants. It could be front-wheel drive, it could be all-wheel drive, it could be rear-wheel drive. And those are all of the different variants of the Blazer EV you can get. So this one is the particular all-wheel drive model of the RS. There's also a rear-wheel drive RS model, which gets a bigger battery pack and more power than this all-wheel drive model. It also has more range than the all-wheel drive model. So this one comes in at around 288-ish horsepower, or over around 330 pound-feet of torque. Of course, dual motor all-wheel drive, so we have one motor up front, one motor up back, and that's coming from an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack. If you go for the rear-wheel drive RS model, you're going to be getting an over 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, as well as over 300 horsepower. You're seeing where I'm going with, and over 300 miles of range. This one's coming in at around 290 miles of range, depending on how you drive it. Our estimator inside is saying 298 because I've been driving so efficiently over the course of this week. So again, it really depends on how you drive it. But you know, for around this price point, I would have liked to see a little bit more power just from standard. Even on this all-wheel drive model, most of the competition is doing just so, but we'll see how this evolves over time. Of course, there is the SS variant coming very, very soon with this 2025 model, which is bringing you almost 600 horsepower. So there's a pretty long different list of Blazer EVs you can get. You can go all the way down to an LT, which is like front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and that's very low power, around 220-ish horsepower. So you can pick and choose here. There's also the little bit smaller Equinox EV, which is really awesome looking, a little lower power, similar-ish range numbers, but of course more affordable to you as a consumer. But as you can see right here, there's no frunk under the hood here. We have a whole bunch of electrical components and a lot of open space up front here, which could have fit some kind of small storage, but it's so tiny to the point where we don't really even need anything under there. So I don't think it was worth it. But otherwise, let's go talk about charging on the Blazer EV, because that's definitely an interesting space here. Now you join me over here on the driver's side of this Blazer EV, and this is where we're going to find our charge port door, which is this gigantic panel located right next to our front wheel arch over here. And you press this little button here, and your charge port door, motorized, opens up for you, just like this. So this is where we're gonna find our charge port here. We have our regular J1772 port. We can also open this up right here, and that's gonna reveal our full CCS fast charging port. You can also get a North American charging standard adapter from General Motors now to plug into any supercharger you want. That is having access with this. And this vehicle also now has plug-in charge beta for EVgo, Flow chargers, I think EV Connect chargers. That's really nice. And you also, through the car's infotainment system and through the My Chevy app, you can pay for a supercharger from the car. So we just did that. I just went to a Tesla Supercharger, used the magic connector that's built into the Tesla Superchargers at this particular one, plugged it in the car, pressed start charging from inside the car, because General Motors thankfully was very kind and included payment information already for us. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go to an app. I didn't have to get out of the car really, other than to plug it in to charge the vehicle up, which is really, really nice. I'm glad that General Motors is starting to include that on a lot of their vehicles. Now this port over here, since we have the all-wheel drive model, it only charges up to around 150-ish kilowatts. If you went for that larger battery pack in the rear-wheel drive model, you're going to be able to charge around 190 kilowatts, which is interesting because the Lyriq with all-wheel drive can charge to 190 kilowatts. Interesting stuff they're doing here, but that's just what we have on this all-wheel drive RS model. Now, it also can charge around, I think, almost up to 12 kilowatts on level 2 charging. The Lyriq, I believe, can do up to 19 kilowatts. I think one of the Blazer EV variants can do that as well with an option, which is crazy for level 2 charging. Really, really fast speeds there. But now let's talk design, because the Blazer EV is definitely a uniquely cool-looking vehicle. General Motors and Chevy themselves alone have been really, really stretching their design and engineering departments to the best and most capabilities that they are capable of, because this is just a really cool and sleek looking vehicle. And there's some cool elements here. This one, as it is the Blazer EV RS EV, is getting this cool illuminated bow tie up here, which is also blacked out in the center. We have this full light bar up front here, which blends into our headlights. Now, I'm going to go on the road here later on, and we'll just kind of see how these headlights are not my favorite at night. Low beams are not pretty good. They're really low, but the high beams are incredibly bright and fantastic. I wish there was a better in-between setting here, because the low beams just don't get far and high enough. I think they're just mounted a little bit too low. Otherwise, really sleek, nice design over here. We have these passive aerodynamic elements over here, so air is going to flow through here around the wheel arches to help improve aerodynamics. We do have a heat pump on this Blazer EV as well, which is going to help for efficiency, charge prep time, as well as heating the vehicle in colder climates. Now, coming around to the rear of this Blazer EV, again, really cool design language. One weird thing back here is how tiny this rear windshield wiper is. Back here on this RS trim, we have a blacked out Chevrolet bow tie badge, which is quite nice, as well as blacked out badging on the whole entire of the exterior. Really like these taillights as well. They do a really cool animation when you're closing and unlocking the vehicle, kind of pulsates to life there. It's really nice of a design. And I like how they blend into this body element over here. It's this really nice dynamic design language over here. But there's nothing too crazy going on back here. I think it's very restrained, reserved in a good sense. It's using its design of its width and this low squunched nature to really emphasize how cool this design language is overall. And of course, we have a huge hands-free power tailgate. I'm going to open it manually for right now, but popping this open reveals quite a nice amount of trunk space back here as well. It almost looks like this car has a sloping roofline, but it really does when you come and look in this rear trunk space area over here. Nice felt-lined floors over here. You can fold your second row seats down to unlock even more cargo space. And we have underfloor storage over here, which open this up. It reveals a tow hitch, and as well as a little cargo holding bag over here for a charger over here. It says Ultium on it. I like this little Ultium branded charger cover over here for this bag, and that fits nicely in this cargo space over here, which is a nice deep pocket. You can shove some groceries or leave some other stuff back here, like a fix-a-flat kit or something. But otherwise, nice, decent amount of cargo space. One thing to note though is that it may not be as big as you think, because the Equinox EV, which generally overall is a pretty much smaller vehicle, has just about 3 or 4 cubic feet less than this Blazer EV, which is a lot bigger. So the big thing with this Blazer EV you're going to be getting is a little bit more cargo space than the Equinox EV, but the big points on there is the interior space for passengers, which is massive. So let's go hop inside and see how it is to be a passenger and driver inside of the Blazer EV. So let's go hop in the rear end of the Blazer EV RS and check out how big these doors are just alone. They are pretty massive, and thankfully we do have keyless access options on all 4 doors, but of course we can just walk up to the vehicle and it unlocks for us with passive entry, which I quite like. Opening up this door, it is pretty wide of an opening right here. It doesn't go to a full 90-degree angle, but that's not too bad. And I like how Chevy designed this car to have huge door panels that go all the way down, so if you get in some mud or something, it's not going to get on your pants when you get out of the vehicle. This whole protection area over here will always be clean. So let's hop inside and check out the space. Shutting up the door there, pretty solid thunk from this platform, and check out how much space I have in the rear seats of this vehicle. I can stretch out back here, and this is my driving position as well. As a 6-foot tall driver, rear passengers are definitely going to be pleased with the amount of legroom they have, as well as foot space as well. Coming over to the door panels over here, we have a little bit of some harder plastics on the upper end, but the design is quite nice. We have a simple door handle over here, window control, little storage cubby over here. It's nice Evotech style adrenaline red material, as well as some lower storage cubbies over here for water bottles and some other things. But we do have our own air vents back here, which is swivel to open and close them, and they look really, really cool. Some nice red accents in them as well. We also have 2 USB-C ports back here, as well as heated rear seats on the outboard seats, which is quite nice. 3-level seat heating back here. We also have a totally flat floor since this is a true dedicated EV architecture, so we can really slide across. You can put lots of cargo in here as well as fit people, because this center seat is huge. You can truly fit 3 passengers back here, so this is a real true 5-passenger vehicle. So opening up the center console, we have 2 cup holders, which is a nice touch, and these seats are really nice in this RS model. We have this Evotech style material with this really cool material in the center. It feels like micro suede, but it's I think it's a more sustainable material. That's also found on the headrest as well. Very comfortable, plush, and soft. Sitting in this second row seat as a 6 foot tall person, I am perfectly fine. I actually can give these outboard passengers their own space back here, which is pretty cool. The only thing with this rear seat area over here is that there's no thigh support whatsoever. These rear seat bottoms are very flat, and they're also pretty low, which means since you have such a high floor because the battery pack is under there, as you can see what's happening right near, is I have no thigh support at all. So this entire area, I'd have to like stretch out really far, which then I can't do to get any sort of thigh support. So that's one downside I would say with these rear seats. Other than that, there's plenty of space back here, though this one does not have the large sunroof option, which is a little bit disappointing at a near $60,000 price point, but it is an option, and that will definitely help to feel this cabinet be a little bit more spacious and less black and cramped. But thankfully, we have nice big windows, decently sized rear quarter windows as well for some visibility. Cool stuff there. So let's go hop up front here and check out the interior of this Blazer EV, because it is awesome. Opening up the doors again, same materials we saw on the rear seats, except this time we're getting an actual soft touch material up here with this nice red contrast stitching. And we also have some seating adjustments. We have lumbar, as well as some power adjustments, and as well as our seats themselves follow the same kind of material that we saw on the rear. We have an RS embossed into this really nice soft touch headrest over here, but let's hop inside. It's nice solid door thunk there. We'll put on our seatbelt as well, and our vehicle powers on to life. Okay guys, so what do we have here on this interior? Well, there's a lot to talk about here, because this is a lot of what we're seeing in modern GM products already. So if you're coming in from a gas vehicle and going to this EV, it's going to look identical, honestly, for you. We have a heated steering wheel, as you can see right here, which is quite nice. On our left-hand side, we have our SuperCruise and adaptive cruise control controls. And this one has a regen on demand. So just like in the Lyriq and a few other EVs are doing this as well, you can use this paddle right here to slow down the vehicle up to around, I think, 85 kilowatts of regen, which is pretty nice and strong. We also have regenerative braking modes right here. So we have one pedal driving normal, one pedal driving off, which is a nice touch. So you have different ways to kind of manage that. Lots of selectable screens as well that cycle through a whole bunch of different information from maps. We have our driver assistance display. We have a cleaner style display. You can really customize this to how you want. And I like this RS steering wheel with this red stitching. It has a little faux flat bottom design, which is quite nice. And just generally, I think this is a really nice steering wheel design. It's a little bit big with a thin rim. It's not the most sporty feeling thing ever, but just for a general comfortable cruising and driving, I think it's quite nice of an experience. But what's also really nice are these air vents, which are just so cool. We saw this on the Equinox, not the EV, the regular Equinox. It has this really cool translucent style design over there. And the air vents themselves are also quite nice. They have red accents in the center. They illuminate at night with ambient lighting, and you can close them to kind of open and close your air vents as well and maneuver them as well. So this is just like a Mercedes essentially in that sense. That's a very similar style design for your air vents. Now coming over to the door panels over here, we have power folding mirrors, which is quite nice, though only the driver's window is auto up. The rest of them I think are all just auto down, not auto up. We also have memory seats for the driver as well, which is quite nice. But other than that, that pretty much sums up our driver zone over here. Now coming to the center console area, we have these 3 main air vents which all illuminate at night, which is kind of cool. You can change all of these ambient light colors to many different options, and that's the only place in this vehicle where ambient light actually shows up as inside of the air vents, which is an interesting choice from GM here. In this center console area over here, we have 2 big prominent cup holders right up front here, wireless charging mat over here, and a huge center storage space for storage down here. It goes so far down. USB-C port in here, as well as a 12-volt socket, which you can find hidden under this little door. Very comfortable center armrest, and it's nice and long, so you never really even have to move it because it doesn't, so you won't be doing that. I love the padding over here for our knees, which is very comfortable. And then you get even more storage space up here. So pull this little door back and you get an incredibly deep amount of storage space, 2 USB-C ports, and
hidden back here is even more storage. You can go all the way back there, and it is blocked off on the side so things won't fly out, but it's a rubberized pad back there for even more storage space all the way underneath of this dash. We do have a glove box over here. Thankfully, it's a manual opening, but it is not lockable, which is an interesting choice on GM's part over there. And that's pretty much all the storage space you're getting inside of this vehicle. Now let's talk about this thing, this behemoth of a screen system over here on the latest version of General Motors digital architecture. Thankfully, they have kept physical climate knobs over here. So we actually have physical buttons for our climate control system and knobs over here. So it only shows cold and hot, but you can see it adjust itself on the display over there, which is quite nice. But all of our main climate settings and systems are actually in the display over here. So this bar will always be here. Quick access to our heated and ventilated front seats, which is a nice touch. You can also activate the heat pump by pressing heat or pressing AC, or just turning the whole system off as well. You also have a dedicated climate screen, so when you open this up, you're going to get a lot more detailed information about what's happening in your climate system. So you can kind of turn on eco, heat, you can change all of these different settings when you want to like pre-start your vehicle in the morning as well, which is pretty cool. So you can really tailor this to your own specification as well, which is a pretty nice touch. Other than that, this is a Google-based software, so it's Google Automotive built in. It's not Android Auto, and there's no Apple CarPlay whatsoever on this Blazer EV. So if you're really looking for that, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be coming anytime soon. Thankfully, GM's gas vehicles and the Lyriq still have Apple CarPlay, which is interesting, but this does not. Otherwise, other than that factor, which I'm a little upset that they haven't included it in here, it works pretty well. You kind of don't need it at the end of the day. We have built-in Google Maps, so it's a huge mapping interface over here. Really, really high quality, very, very quick as well. And it works well with finding chargers. So if you have a built-in dedicated charge screen over here, for example, it will show you all the chargers near your vehicle. You can set your charge targets, and you can favorite chargers as well. And this is the best thing about this entire system, is that there's everything built in. So let's say I'm at this charger right here, which we just were. You connect to one of the ports, you pull up to one of the ports that's open, you press it, and you can start charging from here. It's even going to show you pricing details inside the vehicle, and you don't have to connect to an app or anything. All you have to do before you kind of set up all this stuff is you go into your accounts over here, set up all of your networks, so you can see it lined up over here, log in the vehicle. So when you pull up to that charger, you just plug it in, press pay, and you're done. We also are getting a really nice 360-degree view camera system. We have some side views as well, and they are pretty well illuminated at night, actually. And I love when you do this. You can see you can turn on and off one pedal driving, because sometimes when you're reversing, one pedal driving is not fun. We also have a parking assist as part of the SuperCruise package as well, which is a nice touch. So that's going to help you get into a few different spaces as well, which is a nice touch. We have this home style screen which you can customize and cycle through a few different layouts over here as well. So, if you're a big Apple CarPlay user, you'll definitely find home in this screen if you switch to this vehicle. I wouldn't be too upset about it. Audio interface is the only thing that I think is a little bit confusing sometimes. So I don't like to use, I don't use Spotify, for example. That's my own personal thing. I want to use Apple Music. That's kind of cut out of here. So you're going to have to use Bluetooth music. And it's not the best interface, but that's just one little gripe here. Waze lovers, you have your built-in app here since this is a Google built-in interface. So we have a huge screen for Waze integrated into the system, which is a nice touch. Going home here, you may be wondering, how do I get to some basic controls? Well, this little panel over here will always be like this. So as you can see here, we have a control panel here. So this is going to allow you to adjust your head-up display, dome light, traction control, auto high beams, all of that fun stuff. But we also have a dedicated control here for all of our headlight controls, which is only in the screen because there's no headlight stock anywhere on this vehicle. Like we said, we can also shut the vehicle off completely if you don't want to have it on, since there's no stop start button. You just get in and it starts, get out and it turns off. But if you want to manually shut off the vehicle, you can do so just there as well. And almost before wrapping up this interior, I have to say the interior materials and quality are really fantastic in here. No creaks, no rattles. Everything feels incredibly solidly built. No panels like even move at all. Everything feels very, very solid. Everything's well soft touch in all the right points. I think up here, I think they did a pretty good job with this interior space, dynamics, the design of it, really cool, interesting surfaces and materials. One thing I will note though is that the dash itself is incredibly long. If you put something up there and it shoots forward, good luck trying to get it. It's really far away, and it's also a little bit interesting to get used to while you're driving. We do have a digital rear view camera here, which also can be used as a regular mirror, but I like this as well because the rear window is so tiny. And you would have some controls up here, I think, for your sunroof, but this one does not have that particular option, unfortunately. So we just get this regular headliner over there. But other than that, one last final gripe is with these seats. So they look nice, they feel comfortable in terms of material wise, but I had the same issue I had with the Lyriq in the sense there's just no support. They're very wide and just, like I said, just comfortable to sit in, but there's no kind of real like bolstering or support in these seats like whatsoever. And love to see these seats improved going forward. I also feel like there's no thigh support up here either. So I'd like to see thigh support improvements, some just general bolstering improvements, because going around corners, this thing, it may not be the sportiest vehicle, but a lot of weight is shifting around. You kind of feel like I'm sliding across these seats, even with this kind of grippy, soft touch material in here. I'd like to have a little bit more bolster support on these seats as well as thigh support. So that's really like my only main complaints with this interior. Otherwise, I think it's a really, really nice space overall. Very futuristic, very, very forward thinking. And I think it looks visually fantastic. If you have some passengers coming in here and checking this out for the first time, they're going to be like, wow, this is a Chevy. It is. And they're doing a great job at it. So let's go take this thing on a drive and see how the Blazer EV handles and drives out on the road. Open up our Waze navigation system here, as I do have destination to head to, but this is the Blazer EV, and I have to say this is a really nice EV vehicle. Like I said, lots of space, pretty cool looks, but how is it to drive? Well, off the bat here, coming out of the Cadillac Lyriq, for example, this is kind of shares a platform with, this is a little bit similar. The seats have a very similar position and feel in terms of how they're placed. Same thing with the steering wheel placement, as well as kind of the view around and outside the vehicle. It's definitely something you have to get used to. Very long dash, kind of long hood as well. We also have some very far push forward A-pillars, but thankfully there's a lot of glass to kind of see around them, which is quite nice. But the way of driving this vehicle and experiencing this vehicle, there's so many fun things you can kind of do with it. And one of my favorite features from the Lyriq is this regen paddle on the steering wheel. So as you can see, we're coming to a full stop right here. It'll even apply the brakes for you with this paddle. So you can use this, play around with it to adjust your regenerative braking. But we also have systems here, so we can do normal, high, or completely off for one pedal driving, and your levels of regen as well. So you have different levels of that stuff you can do, which is quite nice. Also, we have a few different drive modes here. So coming over to our infotainment screen here, we have normal, sport, snow, ice, as well as a custom My mode. There isn't too much stuff you can change, but right now we're in sport, for example. You get a little bit of some fake engine sound or kind of fake motor sound whirring around in the speakers. It's a little bit more enhanced than it would be in normal mode, for example, but it's definitely a fun little sound to have around with you, especially when accelerating. Also a little traction there. Now, how does the Blazer EV drive around town over here? So we're going to pop it back into normal mode. One thing you're going to note is that even this is the all-wheel drive version of the Blazer EV, for some reason, to me, it kind of feels a little front biased. You can get rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive versions. I think there's a front-wheel drive variant floating around somewhere of the Blazer EV, but they've done a lot of weird motor scenarios with it. It does have a lot of pull on the front end. I feel like if you're not have your hands on the steering wheel in some scenarios, it's gonna like pull a little bit, and it loses traction sometimes. Has a lot of instant torque. You know, it's an EV, not crazy amounts of horsepower, but that instant torque really seems to get up and go in this vehicle. We're gonna head up here. Again, really nice, strong power though in all scenarios, so I really have no complaints on that department whatsoever. Of course, Blazer SS is coming, Blazer EV SS is coming for those that want a little bit more oomph out of their Blazer. Otherwise, you know, I think the ride is quite nice, very comfortable, I have to say, all around. Absorbs bumps really well. It isn't a sporting vehicle, I would say, even in terms of like SUV sense. It doesn't really have that dynamic nature to it. Now, I will say, compared to the Lyriq, it does feel more sporty in the sense there's a little bit more body control going on. The Lyriq felt very Cadillac, like very floaty, very comfortable, very luxurious. There's definitely a little more rigidity and stiffness into the chassis in a very minimal sense, just to give it a little more of a normal driving characteristics, that people don't want that floating Cadillac-like luxury all the time. So in that sense, it's quite good. It's just a very good, comfortable vehicle. That's a nice, good EV in the sense. It definitely drives better than some of the other EV SUVs in the segment. An Aria, for example, a Nissan Aria is a lot more comfort, softer oriented, not very sporty whatsoever. But I can feel this has those bones, this Blazer EV and this Ultium architecture. It has the bones for sporting, and we're going to see that true potential once the Lyriq V comes out, as well as the Blazer SS. I'm really excited to see how the GM engineers are going to tune this chassis, platform, motors, and all that stuff for sporting. You know, the steering, for example, on this, it's very light, which is great for around town usages. Great light steering, we love that. You know, a little more of a dynamic sporting driving experience. You want it to be a little bit stiffer. You can make it stiffer through the sport mode, but I honestly can barely even tell the difference. And now we're out here on the highway. Pretty quiet of a vehicle in general. There's, you know, acoustic glass around this vehicle. They have these like sound cancelers as well to kind of cancel out some exterior sounds and unwanted sounds, but I do hear a little bit of tire noise from the front end and a little bit of wind noise from these giant windows. I didn't experience that in the Lyriq, for example, so I think they enhanced the sound deadening material in the Lyriq versus this Blazer EV. But out here on the highway, we have to talk about SuperCruise, because GM is putting it in everything now, and it's their full hands-free driver assistance system that works on lots and lots and lots of highways and pre-recorded essentially roads in the United States right now. So it's very simple to turn on. It works in any of these digital clusters we have, though there is a dedicated safety system cluster here, so we can see this one right here. And I'm going to turn on my adaptive cruise control, and I can drive with adaptive cruise control just like a normal vehicle can. So we have our set speed, it's keeping itself in the lanes. I can change my following distance with the vehicle up ahead, and you can see some more information is displayed in this heads-up display in front of us as well. But we have the SuperCruise steering wheel icon popped up here, so I'm going to press that, and voila, we're in SuperCruise. It's just that easy. Honestly, it's really an impressive system, and it works so easily and reliably. It also has automatic lane change functionality, so it can choose a lane to change if it wants to, or you can have it do it manually, which I think most people would prefer. If you even use that feature, I think you can turn it off, but it's kind of cool. It'll find a faster lane if it thinks the cars in front of you are going too slow. So I'm going to put on my blinker here. It's looking for an opening. It sees the opening next in front of this Camry, and we're going to go tight in there. Oh, it's so scary. It works well, and it works on curves as well. They've really perfected this as a system. So again, SuperCruise, you're killing it. 10 out of 10 from me on this particular aspect of the Blazer EV. And out here on the highway, like I mentioned, it's just a good vehicle to drive around, and it's efficient. That is what really surprised me. I just did a drive yesterday. This exact same drive was around 40-ish, 30, 40 miles, and I got almost 4 miles per kilowatt hour on this vehicle, which I was absolutely not expecting whatsoever. You know, and I was driving highway speeds. So I was impressed with this in terms of range. So far, it's been a week. I haven't charged it once. It's at 185 miles. I like that. So when we do get it down low enough, we'll go DC fast charge it to see how it handles that. But this is a good EV. This is a good EV, guys. So far, really high impressions. Chevy, you guys are doing a pretty good job with your electric vehicles and Ultium. I know they took a little bit of some time, but I think it was well worth the wait. This is a nice car, and honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm not really missing Apple CarPlay. I have my Waze. I can turn on Google Maps, which I don't use. I prefer Apple Maps or Waze, honestly. So at least I have one of them. I don't like the interface for the music at all, but maybe we'll see an Apple Music app down the road, just like what Tesla, Rivian, and even now Mercedes has an Apple Music app integrated into the infotainment system. But nonetheless, guys, stay tuned for more coming on Allcarnews. This is some really high marks so far on this Blazer EV. I'm excited to see what's coming soon. Cheers.